President Trump officially kicks off his 2020 re-election bid tomorrow, and we've got an exclusive sneak peek of his official 2020 campaign ad. Take a look.
This is a movement like we've never seen in the history of our country.
Wisconsin is Trump country.
And that's what this fight is all about. We're taking on the failed political establishment and restoring government of, by, and for the people. It's the people. You're the people. You won the election.
We love this country. We love Donald Trump.
Promises made, promises kept.
We support President Trump.
Well, joining us now is Kayleigh McEnany, National Press Secretary for the Trump-Pence 2020 re-election campaign. Hey, Kayleigh.
Hey, Ainsley.
Good morning. So we just saw a sneak peek of it. What do you think?
Well, what I think is that we focus on the American people over at the campaign. You'll notice all of these, dozens of socialists running in the Democratic field. They sit there and they take aim at President Trump. That's the name of the game in the Democratic primary. Well, as you heard just there, you heard about 5 mentions of the people. And when folks see our entire ad, they will see that this is a movement of the people. Yes, it's behind President Trump, but it's always been about the forgotten men and women. I think that ad makes it clear.
What's interesting is with the exception of one shot, I think we didn't see President Trump in that 30 seconds we saw right there. It's all about the folks.
That's exactly right. And when you watch the full 3 minutes, it's the supporters. You see the faces of the men and women. And yes, there are women, despite what the media will tell you. I go to these Trump rallies. I stand in the lines. I talk to the crowds. There's tons of women, people from all backgrounds. When I was in Wisconsin, where that ad was filmed, I went and there were people sleeping overnight in 40-degree weather, including a veteran who had been in intensive care for 2 weeks, but demanded to be let out to go to the Trump rally. And there he was sleeping overnight for this rally. Yeah, because he had called the VA hotline, and none other than Laura Trump called him back. And there he was at the rally to thank the president and the Trump family.
Kayleigh, the tax cuts worked. The economy's booming. Unemployment's at historic lows. Red tape's being cut. But when you look at polls, I was reading an article from a while ago in the New York Times. A lot of Americans don't believe they even got a tax cut, contrary to the data, which says they did. Do we, as Republicans, need to do a better job out there of getting the message out that this economy is due to a change from the older Obama liberal ways?
Absolutely, we need to be out there with that message because people take the economy for granted. We notice in all our polling when the economy is doing well, it tends to drop down in the issues of importance. But we can't take this for granted. As you mentioned, Dan, the Obama economy was much different, a loss of 200,000 manufacturing jobs. Wages were stagnant. Now they're growing twice as fast for low and middle income Americans and at the fastest pace in a decade. So, yes, absolutely so important, so key, as well as the health care message, too.
Kayleigh, at the bottom of that, of that video we just saw, it says to text Trump to 88022. What happens if you do that?
It's really important. That allows us to update our data. We have the best data in the business, Ainsley. That means that we know which doors to knock on. We're going to be able to isolate the handful of a few million voters who will decide this election. Because of that text, you allow us to update our data. You also get to be a Trump volunteer. What's better than that? Being a Trump volunteer and getting enrolled in the army of volunteers we plan to have, 2 million, in fact, which will be a historic number of volunteers for a presidential campaign that are trained.
Kayleigh, you mentioned polling a moment ago. The story over the weekend was that the president is not doing very well in his internal polls. And in fact, it sounds like, and you probably won't be able to confirm this, but it sounds like the campaign has fired a couple of polling companies because they leaked to some news outlets.
Yeah, we're not confirming our personnel decisions, but what I can confirm is the ABC and NBC stories about the leaked polling are more fake news. Yes, those numbers were accurate, but they were from 3 months ago. They were pre-Mueller report. They were the worst case scenario and the most unfavorable turnout model. But I can tell you, Steve, right now the president is leading in all 17 swing states against a defined Democrat. When the Democrats started mentioning socialism, when they started mentioning these radical policies, we saw movement toward the president. We're very comfortable with where we stand, so don't believe the stories you're reading.
So those leaked polls were accurate, you're saying, but they were from 3 months ago. So they weren't fake news. They were old news.
They were old news, and they were the most unfavorable turnout model. We have to predict who's going to turn out. So this is the most pro-Democratic turnout model you could see. So it's understandable that that polling would look that way. But when you look at the real polling, the most accurate polling, defined Democrats, the president is leading in all 17 swing states, as he noted.
Okay. We'll be watching tomorrow. Amway Center, 20,000 people down in Orlando where the Magic play. Thanks so much, Kayleigh.
Thanks, Kayleigh.
Good to see you.
Thank you.